So this is a really provocative dialogue. So you've been doing fearless dialogue where you've been creating spaces, and now you're here to talk about joy and this relationship to fear. So how do you define fear?
Well, I think a helpful place for us to start is maybe defining what we mean by fearless.
Yes.
So when you think about the word fearless, right, you assume, it's fear, the noun, and the suffix less, which then implies an absence of fear. But that's not quite how we define fearless. For us, it's a compound word. So it's fear plus less. So what we're striving to do when we create space for fear plus less dialogue is, first of all, we begin with an acknowledgement that there's no such thing as safe space. Especially when you're working with young people. I think it's an irresponsible and even unethical pursuit to compel young people to engage with you in what you are calling a safe space. You can't guarantee that safety,
right.
and I think it's unethical to offer that to young people.
Right.
But I think the best that we can do in our work with adolescents is to create a space in which we acknowledge that some disclosures, some experiences are deeply intimate and some deeply traumatic, but that your presence there is to encourage dialogue with less fear. And it's an invitation and not a guarantee. Right? So you invite the young person to bring themselves through exercises, experiments, questions. We're animators. We are not the founts of wisdom, but we create that space, and through these experiments and these questions, young people bring themselves to the picture as much as they want to, and we invite them to say, hey, listen, this is tough work that we're doing, but let's do it with a little less fear. And we found that it's actually quite an effective way to work. So for us, fear is the circumstances, structural, emotional, psychological, physical, that causes young people to be unseen and unheard.
Yeah, and I think furthermore, fear is a constricting emotion, right? If you think about moments when you are in a space that is unfamiliar to you, with people who are unfamiliar to you, there are some constrictions that may happen. You may kind of tighten your jaw.
Right.
You may change your bodily posture, right? But others, right, may feel less restriction, but it still may be a response to their kind of fear of those who are around them, right? So we'll talk about the 5 fears that stifle dialogue in a minute, but one of the fears that happens, particularly in spaces that are intergenerational, is people who fear appearing ignorant will fill the space with empty words, right? And so they just talk and talk and talk and talk. But their kind of mindless utterances are really communicated in a way in such that they are not offering words of meaning. They're not hearing the person before them as someone who might be a fount of wisdom, right? So they're just filling this space in a way to mirage themselves or mask the fears that they have of really engaging in deep and meaningful ways. And so the work that we do at Fearless Dialogue of creating unique spaces for unlikely partners to engage in heartfelt conversation, we must put a finger on the fact that before you entered this room, we know that there was fear walking with you into this room. When you entered this room, the fear was not only with you, but with the other persons around the room. And so JoJo mentioned the terminology animator, right? So in Fearless Dialogues, we don't consider ourselves to be facilitators, persons who say, okay, it's your turn to talk. Now it's your turn. Please, we didn't hear from you. No, our work is to animate the conversation, to bring it to life, right? Such that persons who might be who might be constricted might feel a sense of ease to share their most heartfelt and meaningful truth. And so to provide young people spaces, right, in which they could authentically share not only their passions but their concerns is very central to the work that we do.